Okay, few technical difficulties here. We're assuming that there's still people watching. Sorry if you couldn't make it work. Just to be clear, this is live streaming on Facebook. It was meant to be streaming on a custom YouTube channel, but we've had big technical difficulties with that. It is streaming on YouTube, but it's under New North Press. So if you're already watching this, you probably don't need to know that, but that's what's happened. We're also on Instagram, which we hope carries on working. Maybe if you are actually watching, you could post a little comment to let us know. We can see those, and we're going to catch up with any questions or comments towards the end. Tell us we need to speak louder or be angry for the delay or whatever you like. Anyway, here we are. We are coming to you from Hoxton in East London at Standpoint Gallery, which is the space directly underneath New North Press. Ah, someone's here. Hi. Phew. I'm just going to talk a little bit for a few minutes to allow people to enter, anyone who's late. Okay, this is good. We've got comments coming in from YouTube and from Facebook, so that's a good sign. Hello, Amina. Natalia. Hey. Yeah. Louise. I don't think people who work with analog media should be allowed to fiddle with things so high tech as this, but there we go. Great. Well, I'm going to begin talking. We realize that we've actually got quite a lot to say, so I hope it's not too long and boring. Argentina's watching. Argentina. Good. So here we go. We are in the gallery that I mentioned, Standpoint. Behind us, you can see the exhibition. We are going to show you the exhibition and talk about some other things as well. Show some films. Show some films, which should stop us wittering on the whole time. So just to clarify, my name is Richard Ardagh. And I'm Graham Bignell. And we run New North Press, along with Beatrice Bless, who is actually out of the country at the moment. Hopefully watching in Switzerland. Hopefully, here in spirit. We are in East London, as we spoke about. The exhibition is actually due to open from tomorrow. We're going to be open almost every day up until Christmas, including weekends, from 12 noon until 6 in the evening. We really hope that people manage to get a chance to come down here in person, but we obviously realize that it's a difficult time for that at the moment. Just a tiny bit about why and how we're here. Standpoint Studios was set up in 1993, and we had the fantastic help from a benefactor to give us the spaces here. In the building, we have fine art printers like Porpoise Press, 2 ceramic studios, Nicola Tassi and Joe Marland. Peter Ashton Jones, who is a painter and also exhibiting in the show, a paper restoration studio, and of course New North Press, and we have a dedicated education room as well. So we've been really lucky to be sort of in central
fairly central London. And we've managed to stay here now since 1993, and hopefully it's going to continue for a few more years yet. Carry on.
Well, we were going to begin by briefly mentioning the exhibition, also called Reverting to Type, that we held in the same space 10 years ago. That actually opened on December the 5th, so we're almost exactly a decade on. Because we'll be referring back to it, what I thought I'd do is show you the promotional film that we made for that exhibition now. It's 4 minutes long, and it will sort of set the scene for what comes next. So I just need to make the sharing screen part work, if you can bear with me. Hopefully this will work.
My name is Bignell. I run New North Press.
My name is Ardagh, and I'm a graphic designer.
I've been working since 1972 in letterpress, and there have always been private presses in this country. Well, letterpress is basically a traditional form of getting information over to the general public.
I don't know why it's become popular at the moment. I'd like to think it's because it's beautiful. I could attribute it to a sort of interest in things that you can't find in a digital format. You know, letterpress is all actual objects, wooden and lead letters that give you an effect that you can't achieve, or you can cheat to achieve through the computer.
You can be a bit more experimental with letterpress. You have to think about it in terms of the white space around the word. You've got letter space in between letters. I mean, there are a whole lot of areas that you don't really think about when you're printing on a computer.
Having an exhibition was something Graham and I talked about for a little while. It began really by us making lists of who we'd heard of or whose work we thought was interesting.
Surprisingly, when I sort of sent out the email on the web, there was a lot of interest from people all over the world, really.
From Argentina, America, Canada, Europe, Australia, lots, and a fair amount of British presses, but we were really concerned that it should be, as far as we can make possible, a global take on what's going on now in letterpress. I had an idea for the typographic layout of the name, loosely based around the idea of movement, and reverting effectively means like a U-turn. If you're reverting to something, you're kind of going back to it, and I thought to display that typographically we could have not a rotating logo, but a logo that could be viewed from multiple sides. And we took that idea through into the invitations and posters by laying out all of the contributors and the information about the show running around. So what you're left with is a big block of information. That's what the show is going to be like. It's all type-based. We've got a lot of it. It's going to be densely covered wall space. And I just like that kind of visual overload.
While we were thinking about that, I also have an idea of producing a portfolio where I'd invite people that weren't generally practitioners of letterpress printing. So they might be graphic designers, writers, sculptors, people from outside, wordsmiths, really.
I think it's very easy for people to look at the print work that Graham and I have produced and not understand the process that has made it come about. So perhaps people will come away from it understanding more about what letterpress is, or perhaps they will come away thinking, I didn't think that was possible.
Okay.
So there you have it. We haven't changed a bit.
So that should set the scene a little bit about our history in regards this show. I think we had talked fairly often afterwards about the idea of having another exhibition, basically, and doing the same thing again. And one of the things it always came back to for me was, apart from the trauma of all the admin involved in doing this sort of thing, was that it had to be a step forward. It needed to move on from what we did last time, not just in terms of scale, but in terms of direction and content. It felt a bit at that time like a snowball effect, because we searched out the 20 presses that we could find via Flickr, I think, from 7 different countries, which we were impressed by, and put on that show. But ever since that show, we've heard from people saying, oh, have you heard about these people? In Argentina, there's that person. In America, there are these people. And the world has opened up for us, and it feels like letterpress has really just exponentially grown in terms of popularity and community. And it felt like doing another show, what we would need to do is give it a direction to channel that enthusiasm and creativity into. So we sort of batted around the idea of doing another show. Carl Middleton, who actually will join us later, was another one of these people who gave us a prod to see whether doing another exhibition would be possible. And off the back of that, we kind of committed to this. 10 years later seemed like a good time to do it. Actually, we discussed it a year ago. We were talking in December last year about putting on a show in the summer. And we launched the show with the open call in early February, I think it was. All guns blazing, very excited. Little did we know that right around the corner at the end of March was a global pandemic. So we, had a few setbacks and hurdles to overcome, and obviously the whole world was experiencing something far more important than what we'd originally planned to make the show about. But having said that, I think whereas the impetus for the show originally was off the back of Brexit, Trump being elected, injustices that needed voicing, and actually what 2020 brought was far more than that. The whole world was struggling with COVID and possibly getting a chance to reset and think about priorities. Black Lives Matter was a huge, huge awakening in the wake of the George Floyd killing. And it felt like ever since people have really been driving towards something which is, getting important messages across. In the UK, we had the clap out, which was the NHS celebrations every week, standing outside your front door, banging pots and pans, and being thankful for the National Health Service in this country. So if anything, our original idea for the exhibition was fueled by far more cultural significance than we could have known when we originally announced it. So the setback was moving the show from July to November, and then when a second lockdown was announced, we shifted it back by a couple of weeks to where we are in December. The other part of the setback, which is probably beneficial, is that we decided to apply for a grant from the Arts Council England. I'd been lucky enough to receive a grant from them previously for my A2 3D printed letterpress font. And so I kept fingers tightly crossed that we could do that again. It's a lot of paperwork and proving statistics about accessibility and viewing figures and things like that you have to do with these things. But really amazingly, we managed to get that grant, which has enabled the exhibition to hopefully be more COVID proof. We've got a website which should make all of the content accessible to anyone who can't visit, whether they're in this country or not. We were also able to make a short film to promote it, and really do things properly in a way that, you know, we could cover some of our time and costs, which, you know, is a lot. So we're very grateful for that. I think the last thing I wanted to say before moving on to the tour, which is probably why most of you are watching this, is that our agenda for the show was really based on wanting to have another letterpress show, but making it about the message of the content. So this isn't an exhibition about letterpress. Everything is letterpress printed, but it's about the communication of the message. And, you know, protest is a theme which I think enables not only people who own their own letterpress equipment, but the opportunity to invite other voices and people with important things to say to use letterpress as a medium for expression. So yeah, that's the basis of where we've come from with it. Unless you had anything to say.
I think the decision to have protest as a subject, I mean, it's we're bombarded with a whole load of political issues, and it just felt to me as well as Richard that it was a kind of the exhibition was a kind of a statement of where we are now. When we did Reverting to Type 2010, we had a different statement, but over the 10 years that we've been working as a press and meeting lots of other presses, I think we've it crystallized over a period that protest posters, you know, there's a long history of protest posters being produced by letterpress. We thought that would give the potential for some very interesting work, and I think, you know, this show, hopefully when you get the tour around, you'll realize that, you know, there are lots of different voices, lots of ways of saying, I want this, or I don't like this. And we're not trying to be censorial, you know, censor it. It just happens to be the work that we liked. We had a fantastic response of presses sending work in. I think it's, you know, the way we've arranged the show, I think, is important because there's no hierarchy. You know, we've got a great range of very established printers and some not so established. So when you see the work on the wall, there's no sort of consideration about who should be higher or who should be lower. It's purely a visual thing for us. We were looking to try and spread the work and to show it off as best as we can. So I think we should have a talk.
Yeah. So I'm going to share screen again now to show you a film of moving through the space. So you can imagine that you're here with us doing that. If I can get it to work. To ask you to bear with us again. No, that's not it. That's not it. Sorry, everyone. Here we go. Let's just do the entire screen. Okay, I think I'll switch us off so that you can. And we're back. So hopefully you will have got a sense of the space and also the amount of work. Whereas 10 years ago we had the work of 20 presses, this time we have the work of 100 and nearly 200 artworks on the walls. I've talked about there being 200 artworks in the promotion only because we're at about 190, and the plan is that in January we should be running some workshops with local, oh, don't kick the stand, workshops with local plinths, not plinths, workshops with local children to print in the gallery space. And the idea is that they will be able to put their prints directly onto the walls to become part of the exhibition alongside everything else in it. So
we've left the space for those posters.
Yeah,
behind us.
You may have noticed from the guided tour that there was one blank piece of wall. That wasn't us miscalculating. or forgetting. That was a planned space in which it will be filled, we hope. So Graham's already talked a little bit about the diversity. We've got posters that tackle all sorts of subjects here, from gender inequality, veganism, social media addiction, technology,
feminism,
racism, gay rights. I'm just looking around me. There's a lot, and what's lovely is that it's very diverse, and it feels like a snapshot of where we are now in history. I think regardless of whether you're interested in the way everything here was made, I think you could view it from a cultural perspective in the future and look back at the topics being covered because they're very relevant. They're COVID and Black Lives Matter, all of these issues that the world is struggling with at the moment. So that's a lovely thing. I think I was just going to talk about how just to reiterate, the gallery is going to be open from tomorrow. We do have some restrictions that we have to stick to. There'll be a maximum capacity of 10 people in the gallery space at the time. So if you are coming and you're asked to wait outside, that's why. Hopefully it shouldn't be for long. We have no idea how many people will be able to make it, but
if you come tomorrow, bring an umbrella. It's likely to be wet.
Obviously, we have to stick to all the guidelines. Face masks will need to be worn, and you'll have to leave your contact details when you arrive, all that kind of thing. I'm really only explaining this to make people feel reassured about coming, hopefully, in that we are taking those things seriously. We were going to talk about collaborations now. I think we should just do it sitting here. It's going to be, don't want to have any more technical mess ups. As part of the exhibition this time, we wanted to have a set of collaborations that we worked on, which is something that we did 10 years ago. We invited artists and poets and all sorts of different people to come to the studio and make work with us. Obviously, COVID slightly got in the way of that, but we still managed to produce 26 prints, so it's a whole alphabet, with other people. Some people produced more than one, but what we wanted to do was invite people well known for activism, and also minority groups and people that we thought had interesting viewpoints that we wanted to elevate. So within those 26, some of which we've been teasing on social media, we've got well-known names, which I don't think I'll bother to mention. I'm more interested in talking about the other people. So we've done work with Crisis, which is a homeless charity, with groups in our local area coming in and printing with us. And I was really keen to get members of that community to make work. Things were quite difficult with the lockdowns and the restrictions, but we ended up working with a Senegalese asylum seeker who made a brilliant poster about the situation of COVID. Such a simple, clean idea, talking about how, the world used to be face-to-face, and then came Facebook, and now we have face masks, and that kind of alienation and separation that he's obviously experiencing at quite a heightened level. Felt like a really pure expression and something lovely to have in a poster. We also work with local school leavers who had their A-level results downgraded earlier this year. We worked with the Extinction Rebellion art group, who've made some great work. We worked with a teenager who made some funny and very direct groups. I'm just looking around the corner here to remind myself, actually. And we worked with a fantastic organisation called Heart and Soul, who work with adults with learning disabilities. So I went and ran a workshop with them back in February, where we generated ideas for posters, and they did these fantastic drawings expressing what they would like to protest about. All different topics. I came away with a huge pile, and we weeded them down to just 5. And the plan was that they would come and print with us, which we didn't manage to do because of the way the year has gone. But I did manage to turn their drawings into posters. So we have these fantastic expressions of life from their point of view, talking about causes and topics which they feel strongly about. And as Graham said, the great thing is that they are on the wall, intermingled with these famous artists' work. I think that's really important. And I hope that anyone looking at the show or website would sort of experience everything on a level and have a curiosity as to what was behind the person's viewpoint in the poster they see.
You'll be able to read about that in the catalogue.
That's a fantastic segue. In a moment, I'm going to hand over to Carl Middleton, who worked on part of this catalogue, who will talk some more about how we did that. I thought I would just show you, we would just show you the catalogue in the flesh before he spoke. So it's this format. It actually comes in 2 parts, held together by this belly band, which I'll remove. So if I take that off, you can see that you have a booklet and a map. The booklet is what Carl is going to talk to you about in a moment. The map, I'm calling it a map because it's essentially a very large broadsheet poster which contains every artwork in the exhibition. So in a way, it's the gallery on a sheet of paper. All the artworks are in it, and on the reverse is everyone's details and all of the descriptions that they supplied, which, as you can see, is quite a lot of information. I'd love to think that this is another way of making things accessible for people. If you come to the exhibition and you really wanted to buy and own one of the artworks on the wall or all of the artworks on the wall, this is a way of walking away with them all in your pocket.
It's a beautiful poster as well, and you know, it's down to Richard's design practice that both the booklet and the poster is a fantastic purchase, I think, so that you can read about letterpress and this exhibition. So, good one.
The collaborations that I just mentioned and also the catalogue are both on sale through the New North Press website. I'll talk in a moment about the Reverting to Type website and purchasing posters, but I just thought I'd mention that. Now I'm going to share a screen with Carl Middleton, who we're going to welcome to talk about the catalogue and specifically the long primer booklet. Carl co-edited the booklet with us and played a big role, which we're very grateful for. And I'm sure you'll be very grateful for having someone else to talk for a moment. I've just seen a question or several people asking, if you are featured in the exhibition, you will get a catalogue. So we will be sending those at some point when we've slept and eaten and all of those things. But yes, all of the artists will get a catalogue. So without further ado, I'm going to add Carl to the screen.
Oh, sorry, I just had a telephone call just at the inopportune moment. Turn the phone off.
Is it saying, are you live on?
Probably.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
okay.
Probably. Anyway, thanks ever so much for inviting me, and also thanks for allowing me to contribute in any way that I felt necessary. I think, firstly, I sort of got in contact with Graham around October 2019, which seems a shockingly long time ago, but I understood from working on exhibitions how long these things take to establish, and thought if I give Graham a sort of nod or a nudge, things would happen and things would start to set their sort of way in motion. Because I thought the first exhibition was such a successful method of networking the sort of letterpress community. And for me, as one of the contributors to Reverting to Type 2010, it was the first time that I'd actually physically met quite a number of people that I'd spoke to or communicated with on social network platforms. And I think there was a very big community in and around Flickr that then evolved and went to Twitter, and then is now sort of re-established itself and sort of communicating well on Instagram. Sorry, this telephone call's another offer. Get off. Right. So I think the discussions began about the necessity and value of having an exhibition, and also it was about a conversation with Graham and Richard, and for me, be quiet. For me, it was about building on, Graham and Richard have never really mentioned this, but building on the sort of New North Press ethos, which is one of sharing, because previously, almost historically, letterpress and printing has been sort of delivered and held within the sort of criteria of apprenticeships and not really shared. And I think Graham and Richard were really welcoming of anybody at any level and would help them if they had a desire or an interest in letterpress. And I think with that sort of ethos, I thought it was really great that they were expanding the network as it was. But the sort of driver for the primer, which you're all desperate to get hold of now, was to sort of supplement the exhibition, but to, I suppose, continue a dialogue about contemporary letterpress, what it is, what it does, who does it, and what its value is. So within this primer, there's a set of essays about the context of letterpress, the connectivity of the actual fraternity of people in contemporary letterpress printing, relationships to education, and that's not just helping people who study graphic design to understand the history of graphic design and the evolution of the language that comes from printing and then goes into sort of inform Photoshop and things like that, and contemporary digital versions of printing, and also about communication. So part of this, I interviewed Ben Blunt, Sergei Bezov, Dennis Gould, Marina Kalia and Amina Gazaran to see what letterpress was to them and how it resonated and why they use it as a medium of communication. Because after all, this is a 500-year-old process that is slightly out of date. It's becoming more and more expensive. It's massively labor intensive. And actually, in terms of productivity, you need to put in a massive amount of effort to get a very small amount of return for what it is. So there's an absolute love in terms of why people invest in it, but there's something else. I think people who are interested in language or communication or visual forms really embrace letterpress and start to use it and have perpetuated where it is today. In terms of the widened fraternity of sort of letterpress printers, I think it's become quite an amazing network through things like this, which I expect there'll be another exhibition in 2030, but also networks like the Letterpress Workers' Summit, which happens in Italy, which are growing fraternities to support the letterpress fraternity, but also, I think, express or allow an expression through any group or any voice in a really open way. In effect, to sort of summarize, I think these posters are really interesting in an age where we type and write and text message and email such a colossal amount of information per individual per day. Yet these things stop people in their tracks and actually afford them a little bit of time to think about things, and they act as fantastic catalysts for people to discuss issues which range across the whole spectrum of what globally we're experiencing now, be that if that's environmental issues or race issues or evolutions of governmentary power, right the way across the spectrum. But I think it's been really valuable to see the spectrum of work that Richard and Graham have collated, and to see the sort of voices across there. So thank you ever so much for allowing me to interfere, and hopefully I'll interfere again in about 9.5 years' time.
Well, thank you very much for your help on it, Carl. I think it's always useful to have a sounding board and a voice that you respect to bounce ideas back and forth between, and it's all the better for it. So really appreciate your work on it.
No, you're welcome.
I hope everyone.
Oh, and also, sorry, I didn't thank John Christopher as well, because John's got one of the essays, and Erin Beckloff as well. Forgot. I almost, that's like forgetting to thank the bridesmaids.
Yeah. So the commissioned essays, you mentioned the interviews. The commissioned essays are written by, one is by Carl and one is by myself. There's one on connections, which is to do with community, from John Christopher of Flowers and Fluorons, and one on education written by Erin Beckloff of the Make Ready Conference and various other fantastic projects. Thank you, Carl. I think we're going to come back to you and visit. You've got some Q&As for us at the end.
Yeah. And if anyone's got any questions they'd like to ask the team, if they write them in the sort of Facebook or YouTube comments, I'll make a note of them. Then I'll interrogate the team at the end of this.
Yep. Great.
Okay. Thanks.
Let me do this and do that. We're getting closer to the end, I'm sure you'd be glad to hear. The two more sections that we have on our agenda is to show you the website and then to play you the short promotional film, which you may have seen on social media already, and then the questions and thank yous. So let me do something else again. Do like that. And come back here and share screen. What I'm going to do is give you a preview of the Reverting to Type website, which I mentioned already. Basically is containing all of the artworks in the exhibition. As you can see, it's also a sea of images which you can navigate yourself. When you find one you are interested in knowing more about, you can click on it and then you see it on its own and you have a chance to read more. These are the descriptions These are the descriptions added by, sorry, people there. These are the descriptions submitted by everyone, and information such as size, where they come from, and hashtags which collate posters on various topics. There's also a little share this social media button at the top so that people can broadcast it for themselves on their social media channels. As well as being able to navigate the field of posters, you can also come down to the bottom, come down to the bottom here and click index, which shows you a list view of everything. And in here, you can see preview images, a bit like the screen before, except if you're looking for a specific thing, you can organize it by the hashtag, for example. So if you know you're looking for women's rights, for example, you can organize the list view by that. Or if you want to navigate by catalog number or artist, location, country, it's all here. So yeah, and as part of this, we have a link to get in touch if people want to buy them. Obviously, originally we were just planning to make posters for sale from the exhibition, but being aware that people might not be able to make it in person, we now have a way that people can order online. It's not specifically a web shop, but when they click this link, it will email us and we can organize people being able to buy posters. So yeah, there's lots to explore here if you want to look at it yourselves. It is live now. The website address is revertingtotype.com, and explore it and let us know what you think. So if I come back, I'm going to stop showing you that now. And put you here again. Although actually I'm going to need you. Now I'm going to hide this and hide that and close this. The short film is on here. Sorry, everyone. This is not my favorite thing. Stop share screen. Right, share screen again. Thank you for your patience. This is the promotional film about the exhibition. And after this, it's just going to be questions and answers and finishing. So here we go. Sorry.
Pausing.
That sharing wasn't working. Sorry, let me try again. Let's do this.
Let's start again.
Let's start again. Is that all right? There we go. Sorry, think it's when I'm trying to enter full screen, so I will not do that this time and try once more. Thank you for bearing with us. Man, what is this thing? Share. Let's try this. Okay, let's put you back there, and let's go back into here. Stop sharing. Okay. Yeah, this isn't as smooth as we hoped, all of this. So I think that is most of what we had on our list. I'm now going to welcome Carl Middleton back to join us, who is going to put any of the questions you may have written in comments to us. We'll try and keep it fairly short, and then do our thank yous and say goodnight. But yeah, let me welcome Carl back onto the screen. Hi, Carl.
Hello. Right, hopefully Duffy has stopped calling me now. Someone asked, what's going to happen with the exhibition? So when is it open till?
The exhibition is going to be on until the end of January. So we're running from tomorrow up until the 22nd of December, and then opening again on the 4th of January until the 29th of January.
Okay. And in terms of, just for people who've never been there, what's your nearest tube?
Old Street.
Old Street. So it's it's like a 15-minute walk.
Old Street is on the Northern Line. You take exit 2, walk up the ramp, past the fire station and the horrible hotel, Holiday Inn Hotel, and Coronet Street is on your left, and we're at number 45.
Cool. And what are the plans for the exhibition? Someone asked, is it going to tour, or are you gonna allow it to go internationally?
We haven't had any conversations about that yet. I think it's a very large exhibition. 200 pieces of art, transport, all of that is complicated, which isn't to say we wouldn't be happy to do it, but it would certainly need a lot more support in terms of organisation and also finance.
Yeah. Okay, cool. What do you think?
Sorry,
that's all right. And there's probably a cubic foot of blue tack, isn't there?
No blue tack involved.
And in terms of, I suppose, what you've done, because you've galvanized people. I just checked my Flickr account this morning, and I went way back 10 years, and I've got an email from John Christopher saying he would meet me at the exhibition. He would either be wearing a beret or a bowler hat, and he would be with Jens from Denmark, who was at the time needing to walk with crutches. But the exhibition was so full of people, I never met them. I think I met them 2 years later in Italy. So it was a very vibrant account. But I think this thing about galvanizing the letterpress community, I think it's really interesting how that sort of dialogue has continued.
Well,
what do you think?
Sorry, Carl. I think one of the things I meant to mention earlier is that we obviously had our exhibition in 2010, but since then, there have been all these fantastic initiatives like the Letterpress Workers' Conference, and these sort of seeds of community have now blossomed into this whole network. And obviously, we've lived through the time of social media where everyone is hyper-connected, so that if you are a letterpress printer, there are all these different channels to bring together not only tutorials on how to go about doing it, but inspiration and just that community, a much wider audience of people interested.
Just really from 2010, I had no idea that it would grow to such a big group of people that I love that connection with everyone, and it's one of our sort of principles about teaching and learning, that we communicate with everybody.
And we're just so lucky that there's so many like-minded people, really. We by no means would take any credit for the galvanizing that you're talking about, but I think if you put people in the same arena, then good things come from it. You know, I'm all for open community and down with elitism. So I think if you come to the show, you'll see the richness of diversity.
And what part do you think the relationship with social media, do you think that's a critical part in this change? Or is that just the fact of linking people? Because I think
it's important because, you know, I mean, I started printing in 1972, and you'd have a telephone on the line, and that was it. It was very difficult to communicate with anyone outside of the press room that you were working in. So I think it's vitally important, you know.
Yeah. Do you know what social media has done is to show people what's behind the technique as well. So this sort of fascination with wood type and with old machinery has almost been egged up and exaggerated by people being able to see it, because, you know, printing was a trade, and as a customer, all you would see was the finished product. Whereas now, with social media and the ease of being able to post a video on the internet, there's a fascination with hands-on craft. People haven't seen that kind of thing, and particularly younger generations are in awe of it, really, and that you can have that control and hands-on craft in order to be producing things, whether it's as an industry in a commercial outlet or for artistic expression. So
yeah. Someone's just asked where you did your workshop with the school children, the younger individuals, were the posters that they created different from the subjects that were projected by others? Were their desires different, or what they wished to protest against different?
The collaborations, you mean?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, they were. I think what was interesting is that Julian was, he is a teenager, and he felt very frustrated that he couldn't get his point of view across. And like a lot of the sort of Extinction Rebellion generation, if you call them that, they're denied the chance to vote, and they feel like the adults and the people that have come before them have messed up the world for them, really. So, yeah, it was an interesting viewpoint.
And good to get a young person's perspective on what they're thinking about. So,
yeah, well, in terms of your standard workshops that you do, what percentage of those are for non-design students? Because I think currently a lot of letterpress sort of in education is used to show people where the communication or where the descriptors come for graphic design, and it's just used as a contextual device. But are yours for a different spectrum of that? Are you using it for language and for punctuation and things like that that relate to what the materials you're working with?
Well, I think we just have public access workshops, and anyone who wants to come can sign up and come. And we do obviously get people interested in design and people that may have had a history in printing, older generations. But equally, we have lawyers and students and
a whole range of people.
Anyone and everyone. And the lovely thing about that is that you get this big mix of ideas and viewpoints. So our approach is less about the discipline of graphic design and more about giving them the ability to express whatever opinions they have through the medium.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think we're there in terms of questions. They're all eager to get probably on the Reverting to Type website.
I'm sure.
Well, if there isn't anything else, I just wanted to do a quick list of thank yous before signing off. I will go through quickly. So thank you to John Christopher, Erin Beckloff, Dennis Gould, Sergi Bessoff, Armina Gazaran, Ben Blount, Mina Kelleher for their contributions to the catalogue. Thank you to Clara Vith and Stevie Scullion for their printing assistance and general goodwill. Thank you to Christian Johansson and Daniel Norregard, I hope I'm pronouncing these right, for their help on the website. Thank you very much to Alice Dusova for her film work that you've seen this evening, and also to Julieta Hernandez, who did the animated Reverting to Type logo that you see at the front of the film. Thank you to all our contributors and all of our collaborators. Thank you very much to Carl Middleton for his help, not only on the catalogue, but this evening we may have complained about technical difficulties, but that was nothing to do with Carl. And to the Arts Council England for the grant to help make this possible.
And finally, thank you to the people that work in this building who have had to put up with 500 drilling holes in the wall over a period of 3 weeks. So thanks, everybody.
Cool. Yeah, thank you all very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we hope to see you
here
in real life sometime soon. So best wishes for Christmas, and let's hope for a fantastic 2021.
Brilliant.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Signing off. Somehow.